She could really be out there being one of the greatest artists of all time, but she decides to kill people. Jungle of love. Hello everyone, so welcome back to another video to this series of my channel, which is Let's Talk About Horror Movie Duos. And first of all, I did not expect to do this video about the Orphan from 2009 because I did not expect this film to have like a second film, but here we are and I'm so excited to talk about both of them. In case you didn't know, what I do on these videos is that I compare both films at the same time. So I talk in between both films. So for example, I talk about and I compare stuff like the main characters, the side characters, the antagonists, the leads, the cinematography, and the message behind the film, how I felt with the films, and in general, how different the movies are one from the other. And at the end of the video, I try to say which is like the best film out of both. And on top of all of this, I give fun facts about each film. Now, I just want to say that this video will contain massive spoilers from both films. So if you haven't seen any of these films, please go and watch them and then come back to this video because it's quite hard to talk about these films without the spoilers. So, Orphan from 2009, directed by Youmi Colette Serra. Can you keep a secret? A married couple with a rocky past adopt a 9-year-old girl, Esther, to fill the void it created by a recently stillborn baby. However, Esther is not quite who she seems. Now, briefly talking about this film before I compare it to its prequel is that this film is a 5-star film for me. I think this is one of the greatest horror films ever made, like at least for the last two decades, because this film is from like late 2000s, almost 2010s. I really love this film because I think it has one of the strongest storylines. It's so well paced. The characters, they feel so realistic, like they are more than just parents adopting a kid, if that makes sense. I really like our protagonist and our antagonist, if that makes sense. And I just really enjoy how this movie builds a villain without the audience knowing that that character is the villain, if that makes sense. So this movie is very clever. I also like even though this movie is 2 hours, it just doesn't feel like that, and you are always entertained because of the acting, which like the acting is amazing, especially from our lead because she is just 9 or 10 by the time this movie was filmed. So you're really surprised because this girl, Isabelle, she had to portray a very heavy character, and overall this movie is great for the points that we're gonna talk about in this video. Orphan First Kill, directed by William Brent Bell. There has always been something wrong with Esther. After escaping from an Estonian psychiatric facility, Lena Klarmer travels to America by impersonating Esther, the missing daughter of a wealthy family. But when her mask starts to slip, she just puts against a mother who will protect her family from the murderous child at any cost. Orphan First Kill. I was really surprised by this film. It was very entertaining. I gave 3.5 stars out of 5. I think this movie works perfectly as a prequel. Like, they really explain Esther's or Lena's past story. I loved how everything's add up. I loved the connection with like the first movie from 2009. Again, the acting is phenomenal. I love the plot twist, which we're gonna talk about more in this video. Again, the characters are really strong. Maybe not as strong as the first film, but still they feel like they're part of this prequel, if that makes sense. We're gonna talk about them more in the future. But overall, this is a very entertaining film. Like, you would not feel this film at all. I think this is a very easy watch. But overall, I think this film didn't disappoint me as an Orphan fan. Now, when it comes to comparing both films, let's start talking about the characters, because I think the characters and the storyline is what is strong about both films. And first things first, let's talk about our protagonist, our antagonist at the same time. But first, let's talk about Esther as a protagonist, okay? So I think in both films, Isabelle does a fantastic job. I think her acting obviously grows more compared to the first to the second film. Now, when it comes to Esther as a protagonist in the first film, I think this character is so natural, is so realistic as well, and it's so like you can even feel identified with her because she is quite left out. She's not like other kids. She doesn't want to like stand out even though she's very talented, and she just wants to be somewhere where she feels safe. And also I really like how as the movie progresses, this protagonist grows with the movie because she becomes evil, and obviously we're going to talk about the plot twist in a minute. But overall, I think as a protagonist, Isabelle Foreman, Esther, really knows how to have the orphan on her back, if that makes sense. Because I think she really knows how to bring the creepiness out of this character while trying to be a kid. And when it comes to Esther or Lena in the second film, I think she was hella creepy. I think the acting again is phenomenal, but again the character as a whole is way creepier than in the first film. But in the Orphan First Kill, Isabelle Foreman just is so creepy because of the makeup, when she smiles, when she laughs, when she's like trying to act as a kid, but obviously it's very creepy because you can tell it's a grown-up woman, but obviously because of the production and stuff, you feel like it's a kid at the same time, so it's kind of creepy as well. She's creepy all the time. You never feel sad for her, you never feel like, oh, what a good girl and stuff like you can do on the first film. In the second film, you are always creeped out. You can even feel like, not disgusted, but like uncomfortable with her for the things she does. Now let's briefly talk about the second characters, like which means like the families. We're not gonna talk about outside characters, like for example the nun or police officers. Let's talk about the family. So when it comes to the family in the first film, I absolutely love them. I think they feel so realistic, and I really like that they have a plot that is not related to Esther, which is like this marriage, like the husband cheated on her, they have 2 kids, they lost a third one, which brings me to the point of that opening scene is horrible because it's like, it's so terrifying that someone can go through that. I really like that, and I liked how those subplots within the couple really affects the storyline with Esther. For example, the mom has a drinking problem and stuff, so you really feel the pain in this couple. They feel very realistic, and you can tell why they want to adopt a kid, and that's why it makes sense why they came across Esther. In the second film, the family doesn't feel too realistic, but the main reason is because the characters, especially the old son, they're very cliche, and also they have a subplot within the film, which is like their daughter is missing, but because of the plot which we're gonna talk about in the future, they lose that connection with you, if that makes sense. For example, the first characters from the first film, the couple, the marriage, you feel their pain, especially Vera Farmiga's character, which is Kate. You feel her pain, like that woman is going through a lot. But the mom in the prequel, after the plot twist happens, you forget about what she has been going through throughout the film, if that makes sense. So when it comes to the moms, I think Kate is a stronger character and a stronger person as a mom. When it comes to the dad from the first film is horrible. I hate that guy so much. And also, there is a few creepy scenes at the end of the movie with Esther, and it's like, wow, you just don't know what to do with it. So see, like, you can feel uncomfortable with that, especially because it had to come to the point to Esther to kiss him for him to believe his wife. Like, it just is so bad for this character to like him. The dad in the second film, though, he's lovely. Like, I love this dad so much. I think he's better than the dad from the first film because he doesn't know about what's really going on in this film, so he's very innocent, so you really feel the pain from this dad. When it comes to the connection with him and Esther, because he believes that's Esther, you really feel that connection between daughter and dad. That's something that the first film didn't have too much. And when it comes to the kids, briefly talking, of course, I do prefer the kids, like the siblings from the first film. Like, the girl, she's just like 6 in this film, and you feel so bad for the things she has to witness. Also, the brother, like, he wants to protect his younger sister. He almost died. And it's like, these siblings, they go through a lot as well for such a young age. When it comes to the siblings, like the older brother from the second film, I hated this character, even though before the plot twist, because he was just an asshole. Like, for no reason, he was just that typical rich, popular guy, and that was so annoying. I hated him even more when the plot came up, because it's like, dude, we're gonna talk about the plot twist in the future, but it's like, you literally did that and you decided to continue with your life lying to your father. Like, how am I supposed to like you? How? Now that we talked about the characters, let's talk about our antagonist, and let's call her Esther, because if I can get confused calling her Lena. Now, Esther in the first film as an antagonist is amazing. I think as the evil in her progresses, you really hate this character in a way, because it's like she really takes advantage that she is a kid, and she has a few scenes where she's really facing the mom, and it's like, what are you gonna do? Hit me? Because she knows she is a kid, like she looks like a kid, so she knows she can escape with anything, and that's horrible. Also, like, she killed the nun in a horrible way. She used a 6-year-old girl to do that, and also we all know that Esther is 33, she's not like 11. Esther as an antagonist in the first film is horrible, but in a good way. Esther in the second film is amazing as an antagonist. That opening scene in the Estonian hospital is beautiful. I loved how the cinematography, we're gonna talk about that later, how it worked with her as an antagonist, if that makes sense. I think Esther in the second film is so evil. She has no mercy. She's like a proper slasher villain, if that makes sense, because she just takes anything that is around her to kill without mercy, without thinking. Like, she doesn't care who you are, what you are, she just wants to kill you, if that makes sense. And I love that the second film has more kill count, if that makes sense. Now, when it comes to the cinematography, I think both films look gorgeous, but when it comes to the first film, I love the whole landscape. I love where this movie takes place, the snow. I love how this movie, even though it doesn't have too many kills, the ones that it has, they're very graphic. I really liked how the cinematography played with us when it comes to Esther. I love the production that it has for her to look like an adult once the plot is revealed. And a fun fact about it is that it took 10 hours to make Isabelle Foreman look like an old person. So that's impressive, not CGI at all, and you can tell once the plot is revealed. I really like the close-up shots to Esther's face to show her evilness, if that makes sense. The cinematography in the second film is a bit weird, but I understand because obviously this movie is from 2007. I really liked the lighting in the cinematography from the second film, especially in the hospital. There is one scene where there is a lighting, like a red lighting into Esther's face, and once it goes on and off, you really feel tense, especially once Esther stands up and she tries to kill the doctor. I really like that, and I really like how the cinematography and the production plays with Esther's height, because it's like the actress is very tall, but the movie really made it seem like she was small, especially because of the back shots. So I think that was beautiful. Again, no CGI used at all or practical effects, and I think that was beautiful. Now, because these movies have a very heavy plot twist, let's talk about the plot and the reveal in both films. So when it comes to the reveal in the first film, I think every horror fan can admit that this plot like put their jaw on the floor, because it's like, I didn't see this coming at all the first time that I watched this film, and that was ages ago, because I watched this the first time that it came out. And even until this date, that plot and that reveal is so beautiful, because you're really rooting from Kate, from like the mom from this family, and once that is revealed, it's like, see, she was right, and like, you really feel for her, and it's like the whole overall situation is so satisfying, because it's like Kate knows that she's right, so she's trying to help her family, but obviously it's too late because Esther is already at home. So that whole situation, and I really like how the cinematography works with that, because it's like it's two shots within the shot, if that makes sense, because it's like two things are happening at the same time but in different situations, and they're happening in different levels. So for example, as Kate is receiving the real news from Esther, Esther is changing herself into who she really is. And I think the whole combination was beautiful. Now, the plot in the second film was also so unexpected, if that makes sense, because obviously I didn't expect this plot, because I was like, okay, this is a prequel, so maybe we're just gonna have Esther in another family and she's just going to kill them, whatever, blah 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 blah. But when the plot came up that the mom and the son already knew that this woman was not Esther, and that was already shocking. And once they made Esther their slave, that was so funny, because it's like, Esther, you kind of had this coming, like, you kind of deserve this, because the plot twist comes up very early in the film. I think it comes like 40 minutes in, so you still have like 40 minutes with that plot twist, and that's something that the first film doesn't do, because the plot twist is revealed like 20 minutes before the movie ends. And I like how the movie doesn't fall after the plot twist, because you even feel more interested about what's gonna happen with Esther. Is she gonna get away with? When is the dad gonna find out? Is the dad gonna find out about mom and the son? Now, a few fun facts from both films is that in the first film, when Isabelle Fuhrman did her audition to this role, she had the wrist on her neck and hands on purpose, like they were part of her outfit. And the director, like the producers, they really liked that, because obviously she looked cute but kind of like intriguing. So they decided to include that into Esther characters thanks to Isabelle Fuhrman's audition. And I think that was interesting. Also, I don't know how real it is, because the movie doesn't really say it, that some parts of the film are based on true events. I haven't looked too much into that, because obviously the film doesn't say it, the producers don't mention it at all, so I don't know how realistic that can be. And also, this movie had to make a statement, because obviously the film makes it seem that adopting is bad or that it's dangerous. So the film had to make a statement saying that this was a storyline, and they even had to reveal the plot twist in many different countries, so that the audience, or like the people that were suing the film, will know that Esther obviously is not a kid. Obviously, for me, when it comes to the best one out of both of them, I will say the first, Orphan, because the storyline is just so rich. I don't think we need a third film. Like, please leave this as a duo, because I've heard a few stuff on Twitter that they're thinking about making this a third film, like between the prequel and the original, and it's like, don't ruin this concept, because it's like all of the storylines that have to happen, they will have to happen before the original, because obviously we know Esther dies. So it's like, just don't. Just leave this as a duo. I don't think it's needed. Let me know if you think it's needed and what would you do with that. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please go and watch The Orphan First Killed. Right now it's like in some theaters. At least here in the UK it's out on theaters. So if you have the chance, please go and watch it. Otherwise it's streaming on Paramount Plus. And I really hope I can own this film, because this film deserves a physical media release. So I'm praying. Have a nice end of the week, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.